Hey everyone, super excited because today I have with me Dr. Courtney Downes. She is an amazing emergency medicine doc. She's an avid traveler, the founder of Prescription to Travel MD. And through her podcast platform and personalized strategy sessions, she helps physicians and other busy professionals maximize rewards, prevent burnout, make meaningful travel more accessible. Now, when she is not working in the ER or traveling with her family, she's usually teaching others how to stop leaving points on the table. And I'm super excited about this because I definitely just did a redemption today that I was like, I am pretty sure I just butchered my 50,000 points right now, but that's okay. We'll talk about this in a second. She teaches people how to stop leaving points on the table and start booking luxury travel without the luxury price tag. Welcome, Dr. Downs. I'm so glad we get to actually do this.
I know, so excited to be here. So thanks for having me.
So tell me, just let's kind of get a little bit of your backstory. Like, how did you, get started with, points, travel? Just like give us the backstory here.
Sure. So I'm an emergency medicine doc. I live in Las Vegas, where I was born and raised, and I live here. I'm here with my husband. He's a hospitalist, doesn't have a ton of time off. We've got two kids who we like to take along with us. And growing up here in Las Vegas, I spent a lot of time traveling, doing like road trips mostly with my family. Went to med school, fourth year med school. Obviously, you have a lot more time off, and I got my first passport, left the country for the first time, and just caught the bug and couldn't get
Yeah.
enough. Yes.
When you say you got that first passport and cut the bug, I totally am with you on that one because I actually did a similar thing. I did a similar thing. It was my fourth year of med school. I went to France, and that was actually when I got to meet my mother-in-law for the first time. And it's like you don't ever get that time again. So
Right.
it's like it was just an amazing chance that I had, and I remember that experience so well. Now, at what point did you say, you know what, I need to actually get intentional about my use of, points and getting strategic about, you know, travel?
Yeah, so I had my like first credit card. It was like a Capital One Venture card that my dad had. I was like a co-signer on the card, and I used it, and I used it to like use like points erase to erase the trip that we took to the DR for like a cousin's wedding. And I'd done some other things that were like not super intentional, but it was like, hey, I've got these points and I can use them. Um, and then at some point, I'm not sure when I made my first like real like I think. Actually, I had an American Airlines card, and I made a redemption where I booked flights to like Orlando, Florida. I blew like all my coveted American airline points on a domestic flight. And when I found out that I could book like Q suites with the points that I spent to get to, Disney World, I was just I was a little devastated. It hurt a little bit, hurt enough for me to decide that I was going to learn how to use my points intentionally and figure out how to earn points and leverage the expenses that I had from, just my everyday spend to book some amazing trips with my family. And so that was it.
So now you mentioned Q suites, and I have an idea of what that means, but for those who are new to points, new to this whole thing, can you just break down a few fun redemptions that you have done so far? Things that you would say, you know what, this was sweet. This was a good example of what can be done with this.
Yeah, sure. So, um, I use a lot of Chase points. I love using Chase points to book hotels. And so we went to London last summer with the family. We booked 2 nights in London, two rooms, paid $0 just using our points. I went to Miraval, which is, hop, skip, and a jump away from Las Vegas, flew to Tucson for like $100 on Southwest, and stayed 3 nights for $0 at the Miraval. Miraval will run you like $2,000 a night. And it includes all these, you know, it's all inclusive, but you'll get massages and you can, go to dinner in your bathrobe, and you get all these like exciting experiences from just hiking in the nearby desert to, taking like yoga classes and floating meditation and just all these things that are available to you if you book Miracle. And so again, you can book a night there for like $2,000, $2,500 a night.
Wow.
And then I found out that I could spend 45,000 chase points and book a night there. So I, spent 135,000 chase points, which kind of seems like a lot. But for the experience that I got. And again, $0. They give you $175 a night credit. They give that to you whether you book in cash or you book with your points, and you can use that for any experiences there that aren't included in their all-inclusive package. So I think that was like my first like time seeing, hey, this
This
is
could
really
actually be
sweet.
your
Yeah,
thing.
like I spent this would have cost me like, $6,000 out of pocket, and it cost me nothing close to that. Um, we went to Singapore recently, this um, early this winter for almost $12, business class flights nonstop from LA to Singapore. My husband and myself, yeah, cost us about
You
200,000
just
points, which
say
is a lot, but
$12.
like yeah, $12 in taxes. So just because we had the points available to us, it was a 16-hour flight in business class on Singapore Air, which is an amazing airline, amazing experience for us. We stayed at the Waldorf. The Waldorf anywhere is always an experience, right? Um, but the Waldorf in the Maldives is like unmatched, and it cost us like $800 for 5 nights there, because we had Hilton points that we transferred and took advantage of the fifth night free. So we booked 5 nights in an over-the-water bungalow, had our own private pool, like yeah. So you can do a lot with points if you know what you're doing with them.
As you're saying this, I'm literally just laughing at myself right now. Okay. And I'll probably tell you what I've done later because some of this stuff should not be recorded. Okay. Because we definitely just went through some points yesterday, between yesterday and today. And let's
Yeah.
just say we'll be talking after this. Okay.
Yes, we have to talk. But you know what? I always tell people, like, that's how you get started. Like, you get started by making those redemptions that
By
are kind of
blowing your points.
cringe. You blow them, and then you're like, oh, I could have done this, this, and this, and then you get better at it. And then, that was kind of why I decided to start my services so that way I can help people avoid the costly mistakes that I've made, and have their amazing redemptions without going through all the heartache. So,
So, so let's get to like someone is thinking, you know what? When I hear points, all I hear are just like a lot of jargon and it just sounds so complicated. But teach me like I'm a toddler. Well, I'm an educated toddler, okay? But where does one even get started? Like, you've never used points before. You do use credit cards. You don't mind getting a new one if you had to. Where do you start?
sure. So, you get started by one if you're not already using a credit card, use a credit card. Put the debit card away. Stop paying for everything with cash. Don't be afraid of credit cards because they're not all inherently bad as long as you know how to use them responsibly. Meaning you're number one, paying off your balance in full every month. So get that out of the way. Get over your fear of like using credit cards because you know you're going to do the right thing, right? Um, I'm an ER doc by training, so I love algorithms and I love having like some sort of process to go through to
Okay.
think about which card to get. Again, not the end all be all, right? You know how to run a code, but if something changes, how you have to kind of figure out what the next step is. So, um, I think the first step in the algorithm is to decide if you're eligible for business credit cards.
Okay.
And so I say that because business credit cards often come with higher welcome bonuses and
Mm-hmm.
um, more opportunities for you to earn a lot of points quickly. So if you mentioned locums, if you do
Mm-hmm.
locums, if you have any type of side hustle, whether you're just, you're driving Uber or, doing DoorDash, you walking someone's dog, whatever it is that you're doing to earn extra income, that makes you eligible for business cards.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I would go down that route first. Um, if you're eligible for business cards, that business cards don't count against your overall credit score. So there are certain credit card companies that won't lend you any credit if you have a certain number of cards that have already been opened. So if you've opened up 10 business cards, none of those cards will count against your personal credit. So I think that's a good place to start with business cards. If you are looking at business cards, Chase is one of my personal favorites and probably a fan favorite. So they have the Chase Ink business cards. There, three of the four are going to earn you points back versus cash back. So I would start with getting one of those. If you decide that you're not eligible for business cards, the next step I would take is to consider looking at your spending habits. Or do you know that you're going to be someone who's only going to want one card and then you're going to tap out? Or are you someone who's going to be like me and go down the rabbit hole and end up with a lot more than that later on down the line? If you're that person who's like, I just want one card, look at like the Chase Sapphire cards or like Capital One Venture card. I think those are the two that I'd recommend for various reasons. And then you have to also decide which season you're in. So recently they had the Chase Sapphire Preferred offer that was available. I don't know if you heard about it at all.
Um,
It-
I see those names, and honestly, they're just like a blur right now. Like I just see them as like CSR, and see this, I'm just like, all right, somebody just
yeah,
needs to
yeah.
do this.
Yeah, so you saw all the abbreviations. So yeah, CSR, the Chase Sapphire Reserve. That one comes with a higher annual fee. It's great if you want lounge access and you want a travel card, has good travel insurance for the most part. That's going to be a good card for you. Maybe you're like, I don't know if I want to pay the $550 annual fee that comes with that. So Chase Sapphire Preferred, which was the offer that they had running around recently, they had a high of 100,000 bonus points if you spent, so much money over a 3-month period. Great card, great offer. Unfortunately, the offer disappeared a couple of weeks ago, but the card is still available for I think like 60,000 point sign up bonus. So one of those two cards I would start with, or again the Capital One Venture X card, and then yeah, go from there.
But then if you don't mind the extra cards, because I was literally drawing out your map as you were talking. So the
Yeah.
first was were you eligible for business credit cards, and then if you weren't, or if you wanted to now just go down to personal, right?
Right.
Then your spending habits, and then if you wanted one card versus if you didn't mind other cards.
So if you're a one card person, I think either one of those works, but the Venture X card is going to have a lower annual fee. I think it's
Okay.
like 395 right now, and it's going to give you 2 times back on everything that you buy. And so you
Mm,
have that one card. You don't have to worry, do I spend this? Do I use this card for groceries? Do I use this card for dining? You can just say, you know what, I'm gonna
just
earn
one
two
card.
times back on everything I buy. And then you just leave it at that. If you know that you're open to having other cards, then the Chase cards are going to be the best just because there are so many different offers within Chase. And you can kind of stack your points and have different welcome bonus offers. And yeah, and then you end up with, 500,000 points that you can use for your next trip.
Okay. Now that actually breaks it down because I always wonder like why do they end up with so many cards? But it sounds like it's because you get the bonus points, like the welcome cards or the welcome
Exactly.
bonuses.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you think about it, if you have a card that earns like everyone loves the American Express Platinum card,
Yeah.
it's it's a great card for certain people for a number of reasons, but it's an expensive card, right? You get your welcome bonus, and then after that, it earns 1 times back on like everything except for
Yeah.
your flights. If you spend $20,000 using that card, you're gonna
Hmm.
get end up with 20,000 points. If you spend $20,000 and you sign up for two or three different cards, which are each offering 100,000, sign up points for a $5,000 spend, $5,000 spend, $5,000 spend, that $20,000 that you spent could be 300,000 points. So you're going to get the most bang for your buck by signing up for new cards and getting those welcome offers.
That just broke it down for me because I'm like, why? I could not understand the craziness.
It's like, yeah, why do you have so
Like,
many cards?
why do they need so many cards? Like, how do you keep track of all those things? But then speaking of how do you keep track of all those things, how do you keep track of the different cards and which one gives you what perk? Do you have an organization system or what do you do to keep it sane in your head?
Yeah, I think at this point most of the things are just in my head just because I've
Yeah,
done
because
it
you've
so
done it
much.
so much.
But I do have an app on my phone that tracks like which cards I put my card in whenever I get a new car. It'll tell me when the annual fee is going to be due. Then I can reassess and decide if it's a card that I want to keep or if I got the sign up bonus and I'm done with it and I'm going to close it. I think that's helpful. I have alerts on all of my cards, so I know if anybody, if for some reason someone's using my card or something, I'll
Mhm.
get an alert saying this purchase was made. The cards that I'm not using are locked. So
Okay.
I usually get the sign up bonus. And then if it's a card that I'm going to use frequently, like Amex Gold, we use for groceries all the time.
Mhm.
That's a card that's, always in my wallet or on my in my mobile wallet that I'm using. Whereas some of the cards I'm like, not really using this very often. It's just gonna, take a seat.
Mhm.
So
Mhm. Mhm. Wow. Okay. So, are there certain seasons that you find yourself maybe applying for more cards? And then I've heard of this, like, I don't know, 524. What is that? Like, are there like lockout periods or something like for cards?
yeah. So 524 is Chase's like rule where they won't extend any credit to you if you've opened up more than 5 cards in 24 months.
Mm.
Um, Amex is usually pretty friendly about handing out cards. They have their own set of rules, but um, if you know that you've had 5 personal cards, so you got a Target card and you got a Kohl's card, and then you got a Costco card, and then you opened up the Chase Sapphire card, and some you
Mhm.
went to Old Navy, and they're like, hey, we'll give you $30 off if you signed up, and you signed up for that card too, and you've done all that in like 24 months. You're like, don't waste your time applying to Chase because they're not going to give you a card.
Mm.
People like to stay under that because Chase will occasionally come out with these really great offers. And if you've opened up 4 cards and you still have that one spot open, there's a chance that you could
Make it.
potentially get that
Yeah.
card. So people who are loyal to Chase for a number of reasons will try to stay under that 524 number so that way they don't miss out on really good deals. So,
And that's only on the personal, right? So if you did, for example, any of like the Chase Ink or whatever, will that
right.
still matter or
Nope. Yep. So if you apply for any of the Chase Ink business cards or the Amex Business Platinum cards, the Capital One Venture X business card, those I believe the Capital One Venture business, but most of the business cards are not going to count against you for your personal
okay.
credit. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay. So now let's talk a little bit about the transfers because that's another thing that I hear a lot about. Because for example, if I have, let's just say Amex points,
Right.
um, there are no Amex hotels. Like I know I hear a lot about people transferring to different airlines and different things. Like if somebody wanted to say plan a trip to Europe next year,
Right.
how do they go about figuring out which line of cards or or points they should be working on?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. That's a good question. So for myself, I tend to use all my Chase points exclusively for booking hotels. I
Okay.
can use those points to book flights, just like I can use my Amex points to book flights. But when you transfer your Chase points out to Hyatt, you can get such good value for it. So you
Mm,
could go into the portal, like when you get a card, there'll be like a portal for Chase, and you can book travel through the portal. And you may go on there and see that there's a hotel and they're saying, okay, you could book this hotel for 135,000 points for 2 nights. And then you transfer your points. You look over at the Hyatt website and you're like, I can get that same room for like 35,000 points per night. So if you know to transfer your points out to Chase instead of getting, 1 cent per point, um, for that, the same points that you have, you can get, 2 to 5 times that value
mhm.
just by knowing that you can transfer it out to Chase. So,
Okay. Well, that's actually good to know. We just booked a Hyatt, and I mean, I'm literally doing all of this like a few days ago, going, I know I'm not doing this. I know there's probably more to this, but right now I'm just gonna book this thing.
hey, there's probably still some time to fix that.
Point.
Yeah, yeah.
Good point, actually, because it was just 2 nights ago.
Yeah, if you just did it a couple nights ago, the good thing about points is that a lot of times you can cancel and they'll give you your points back. I mean, you still have to be observant of like the
Yeah.
cancellation policies, but it makes things a little more flexible. So we'll have to look at what you booked.
That's really a very good point you just made. No pun intended.
Yeah.
So what do
So
you
I,
tend to use more for flights?
so I'll use my Amex points and my Capital One points for flights. Um, A lot of the time, again, it's the same thing, transferring it out to wherever you're flying. So transferring to Virgin or Air France Flying Blue, are some of the airlines that you can transfer your points out to. Most of the major airlines you're going to be able to transfer out from Amex or Capital One or from Chase or Citi or wherever you're have most of your points. But Amex has been very generous with their points lately, so I have a lot more points available within the Amex system. And so when we're trying to book, flights for 4 people, I'm gonna go where most of my points are held, and
Mhm.
and Amex doesn't transfer to Hyatt. So
Okay. 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 No, that is great. I mean, I hope anybody listening to this had a pen and paper, because if you didn't have a pen and paper, I did. I've told you guys, anytime you're listening to me, grab a pen and paper.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you pick up like these little tidbits, and like it's easy to get lost in all this. And I'm sure the first time I heard all this, I was like, "What is this? What do you mean? What's a sub? What's a cent per point? The CPP? All these abbreviations, CSR. I have no idea what you're talking about." And then now it's just like learning a second language, almost
Language.
like medicine.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I know you help people with this stuff as well. Like, you have consultations. Can you talk a little bit about what you do, how you work with people, and then how they can find you?
Sure, sure. So, the most common question I get is which card do I get next? So, I
Mhm.
do free credit card consultations. So, if anyone has a question about which card to get next, that's specific to their situation, they send me an email. I can either send them my own referral, or a lot of times, like with Amex, there may be a higher offer that's available rather than what's listed if you just go to the Amex website. So, I'm always working to get people, the highest offer, the best bang for your buck. So, um, that's one service that I offer. I also help people book trips. So maybe you're sitting on a stash of, 500,000, a million, a couple million Amex points that you've been saving up over the past 10 years, and you have no idea what to do with them. So those are the people who, they don't want to learn the points game. They don't want to learn all these nuances and spend hours trying to like find flights. And so I help people book trips. So I had a family who was looking to get to Morocco, and they wanted to go over like Christmas break, New Year's, which is like peak travel time. And it's like, okay. And they'd already done their search, couldn't find a trip. And so eventually I was able to piece together some things so that way they could fly their family in business class to get to Morocco, and get back in time before school and work starts after the new year. I have a guest now who's looking to get to Seoul, Korea, so I'm working on finding flights for them. And sometimes it's just a matter of they don't know that they can transfer their points. And so if they have questions, I'm always open to, just
Mhm.
hearing people out and help guide them in the right direction. But I do offer like the paid uh,
Consultation.
booking opportunity. So yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Wow. Now, what kind of last or wrapping up words of advice would you give to anyone that's listening right now who's like, wow, this is like all new to me, but I'm glad that I stumbled upon this.
Yeah, I think you just get started. I think you pick a card and you get started, and you figure out how to earn points, and then once you get your points, then you figure out what to do with them. The
Mm,
earning part is easy. Again, you start with that one card. You know that if I get the Chase Sapphire Reserve, this card is going to earn 3 times back on booking travel. I know I have a trip that I'm getting ready to book, so I'm going to use this card and pay for my cruise or pay for my rental car with this card and get 3 times back on that. I know I go out to eat all the time, or I'm at work and we're always ordering out. We're ordering DoorDash. I order for everybody. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to charge it to this card so that way I can get the points back.
mm.
So yeah.
Which
Get
card would
one
work for
card.
DoorDash?
Which card were the Chase Sapphire actually has a
Okay.
give you like a $5 a month like DoorDash credit. But yeah, and the Amex personal gold card is great for 4 times back on dining in grocery stores. So that's probably one of my favorite cards as well. And they give you $10 a month for like Uber Eats. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Well, that's great. I just had to ask that one question because I was like, for all the money that I spend on,
On DoorDash. Make it count.
I might as well make it count. And how can people find you?
Yeah, so I am on Instagram and Facebook at the handle Prescription or Travel MD. On Facebook, I have Prescription or Travel MD Doctors Lounge that's available for physicians, doctors, dentists to join. And, I'll post different tips and tricks to help people get to their next destination. And there's also a Prescription to Travel MD Facebook group for any non-physician available. So you can join that and get some good information as well. And again, you can find me on Instagram, shoot me a message if you have any questions, and happy to help.
Amazing, amazing. So now we will be posting these on the different groups. So if you have any questions, just feel free to post them down in the comments. I'll tag Dr. Courtney on either of the groups. And I'm really just glad that we finally made this happen. I
Me
always just
too.
love lurking in the background, like, oh, your trip looks so cute.
It's always a good time, you know.
Yeah,
And I
thanks
think
for
I think it's fun to go on trips and it's fun to travel and do all this thing anyway, but it's even more fun when you can do it and you can save that money and use that to invest or, get an extra experience while you're on that trip or whatever it is
Yep,
that you want to do with that $5,000 to $10,000 that you're going to save by using your points instead of, paying cash. So
yep, yep, yep. I'm really glad. Well, thank you so much for hopping on, Dr. Downs. Really excited. Guys, check her out on the different social handles that she just mentioned. We'll try to post them down in the show notes as well. Take care.
bye.